Hi everyone, I hope life is treating you kindly. I'm Lubomira and thank you for joining me today. Welcome to all my crafty friends new and returning. I always look forward to this time of the week when we get together for some crafting fun. Now that you're here, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. By hitting that little bell, you'll get notified every time I post something new and you won't miss out on any of the crafty goodness. So my friends, I am alive. I'm sorry for being away for so long. I don't want to make this too long of a story, but I do want to give an explanation. I told you guys that I had the flu and that really kicked my butt a few weeks ago, but as I was starting to get better, I got a severe headache attack, basically a migraine. I do get them from time to time, but this was a little different than the ones I've had previously. It felt different and in a different area of my head. Another thing that was different was the length. I had it for almost 3 weeks with very little breaks from the pain, and medically nothing was found. In the end, we think it was a bad reaction to some medicine I was taking. As soon as I was back to my regular routine, it went away. But during that time, looking at any screen was just unbearable, so there was no way I could create my usual content. I appreciate all the lovely sentiments left. I'm way behind on responding to you all, but please be patient. I promise I haven't forgotten and I'm not ignoring you. The brain fog just has taken some time to lift, and I can be foggy up there under normal circumstances, so please bear with me. I do thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. Thank you for all the concern and sticking around. I've noticed a few new faces joining our circle. To those people, I promise I'm not usually so absent, and we do have a nice time over here. Welcome, and I do hope you enjoy the content that I share. Okay, well, that's enough. Let's get into what you're really here for, our crafting time. I feel a little rusty, honestly, getting back into the crafting room. The card I'm making today is dedicated to all you guys for being so amazing. This is me sending you all a thank you card for sticking around and checking in. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing I did was create a background using an embossed resist technique. Now technically you could create a similar look by just embossing over an ink blended background. Really, it's up to you which way you do this. I placed my stencil over my standard size panel and held it in place with some tape. Sometimes you can skip the taping down part when stenciling, but in this case, since I'm going to be pouncing an ink pad over the area, taping the stencil down is essential. Using some clear embossing ink, I pressed the pad into the open areas of the stencil to get that ink to capture that design. The stencil is a Dollar Tree stencil, and so are the stamps I'll be using later on. For those of you who are new to my channel or to the hobby, I try to encourage you first to use what you have in your stash, and secondly, you don't necessarily have to spend a fortune to make beautiful cards. No one will know it's Dollar Tree, and even if they do, who cares? You're creative enough to make it look like it cost $1 million anyway. After finishing, I removed the stencil and I sprinkled white embossing powder over the wet ink and heat set it with my heat tool. If you should have some static cling to other areas of your panel, just brush the stray powder off using a brush before heat setting it. Mine didn't have too much of that going on, and honestly, I wasn't too concerned with it anyway. Now, when heat embossing, you'll notice that the embossing powder can leave little dimples in its surface after heat setting it. It's mostly noticeable when you have larger areas of heat embossing. You can smooth out that look by adding a second layer of embossing powder. The powder basically melts into itself and self-levels. To do that, I repositioned the stencil in its original place. This can be tricky since you're working with white on white, but the embossing created a slightly raised pattern which the stencil fits over. Take your time, and once it's in place, just repeat the previous steps of inking the background and applying the powder. When you're done heat setting the second layer, you'll see a noticeable difference in the texture of the embossed surface. It'll almost appear like a glass finish. The more layers you add, the smoother the appearance. I used distress oxide ink to ink blend over my heat embossed panel. I used the colors Tattered Rose, Festive Berries, and Aged Mahogany. I ink blended in a diagonal pattern, starting with the lightest color at the bottom left-hand corner and working across the panel to the darkest in the right-hand corner. Once the ink was applied, I wiped the extra ink off the embossed area using a cloth to reveal my white birds again. I've been disconnected from social media for the past few weeks, but when I did finally come back, I noticed that the postage theme trend is still strong, so I wanted to incorporate that in the design of this card. I've shown a few examples of how to create the postage look using Dollar Tree dies in the past, but this is another option you might be interested in. Now, if you're great at eyeballing things, you may not have to do all the prep work I do. I like giving myself guides and grids, but that doesn't mean you need them. I took a piece of scrap card, this one's about 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and lightly marked the sides of it every 1/4 of an inch. I'm using the grid on my work surface to do this, so it goes pretty quickly. Next, using a regular hole punch, and this one is from the Dollar Tree too, I went ahead and placed a hole slightly hanging off the side of the cardstock between every other mark I had made. Again, you can be more precise than me, making everything more uniform by measuring the depth of the hole or how many holes to make the corners even. I wasn't so precise, and I think it came out just fine. Once I had the holes in place, I took my trimmer and trim the sides of the panel, cutting at the halfway mark of the holes. This creates that iconic postage stamp pattern. After finishing the postage panel, I took a 1/4 of an inch washi tape and masked off each side. I lined the washi tape against the flat side of the cut pattern on each side, creating a border. Then, using the residual ink on my red and orange ink blending brush, I added some color to the center of the postage panel. After I was done, I removed the tape to reveal some crisp lines. I should have waited though, because I still needed that mask for the next step. Since I took off the washi tape, I did need to put a makeshift mask to protect the bottom corner of my postage from being stamped in the next step. Using black pigment ink, I stamped some flowers onto the postage panel. Then, on a separate white scrap of cardstock, I stamped a bird. Both of these stamps are from Dollar Tree stamp sets. When I was done, I applied clear embossing powder to the wet ink and heat set the images with my heat tool as I had done before. I fussy cut the bird, and using a black micron pen, I closed up and extended some of the lines on the branch our little friend was sitting on. I just wanted to anchor the branch a little bit more. Once I had the image cut out, I attached it to the postage panel using some 1mm foam squares. Now comes the assembly of the card. I attached the ink blended panel to a white card base using liquid glue, and then I attached the postage panel to the front of the card using foam tape. For the sentiment, I chose "Thank you for your kindness" because you guys are the best, and I am so grateful that you're here with me. I stamped the greeting in clear embossing ink on a black piece of cardstock before sprinkling white embossing powder over the wet ink and again heat setting it. I trimmed the greeting with my trimmer and then added it to the front of my card. I used a combination of foam squares, foam tape, and glue. I placed a layer of foam squares on top of the foam tape in a section so the banner was level on the front of my card. I used a T-square to help me align the banner straight and put it in its final place. Lastly, I added some flat iridescent sequins to the front of the card for some extra shine. And that's it for this card. This was a fun card to make, and it definitely got us thinking outside the box when it comes to using tools in a different way. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you dropping by for some crafting fun. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did sharing it with you. I'll be working to get us back to our normal crafting routine, but unfortunately I haven't been to the Dollar Tree recently, so I may not have the current items, but again, we're going to work with what we have and have some fun doing so. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, please leave me those comments. They really do mean a lot, and I do love hearing from you. I hope you'll join me next time for another project. Until then, have an amazing week, and I hope life treats you kindly. See you soon. Bye.